Good afternoon, guys. Thank you for being on time. Welcome to class. Today, Mr. Kuzman is actually going to be running the class for the last time, so it's bittersweet. Um, Sweet because we get another great lesson from Mr. Kuzman, but sad because it is his last time. He's going to be running the class, so I'm going to pass it off in just a moment. I am taking attendance now because it is 12:35. Also, guys, I'll say this again at the end of class, but on Monday, we might not have a WebEx session. If we don't, there will still be an assignment. Please check the announcements page on Monday. Thanks, guys. All right, Mr. Kuzman, whenever it is that you are ready, you can get started.
All right. Okay. So, hey, you guys, happy Friday. I almost said Monday. Happy Friday. And as Mr. Jazik mentioned, this is the last day I'm going to be with you guys. So we have two goals today, really. Okay. Let me know if you have any trouble hearing me. I had some headphone issues last period, but I think I got it fixed over the lunch break. Our goal today is, first of all, I want you guys to understand in your own language what the prologue is saying. So exercise in translating Shakespeare's English, which we call early modern English, into English that we could understand, English that we would use with each other if we're trying to explain this, okay? So Shakespeare's language is difficult, you guys. Even I have to look at the notes if I haven't been reading it for a while. So it's not something you're ever going to just get. Okay, so you're going to have to check the notes, and you're going to have to constantly kind of translate it in your head a little bit. So we're going to go through the whole prologue. We're going to take the first stanza, okay, because it's actually a poem. It's a sonnet. Okay, so the first thing I need you guys to do is to go to the module and make copies of 2 different documents. So let me show you that. All right, so if you go to this week's module, okay, it says to do 3/5/21, period 6. Okay, so the first thing it says there, right, is to make copies of Romeo and Juliet prologue text and Romeo and Juliet prologue worksheet. Okay, let me show you what those look like. So they're just down, just below it, prologue text right here. Okay. This is just the text of the prologue for you guys to make notes on, play around with. It's just nice and big and bold for you to look at as you try to translate it. Okay, that's all that is. But it's just good to have to highlight whatever you guys do. You're gonna have to be developing your own note-taking skills, whether they're on computer or old school like me on paper. So mine will start now. Second thing I want you to make a copy of is this worksheet. And don't let the word worksheet scare you. It's not that bad. Okay, so the first part, I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms and want you just line by line to translate this into English you would understand. Okay, and we will do the first 4 lines. I will kind of do the first 4 lines for you before I put you in breakout rooms. Okay, that's part 1. So just worry about part 1 right now. Okay, so we're going to translate it. So let me show you something else. So everyone should be making copies of these 2 documents. Okay, let me know if you have any trouble doing that. So let me share with you this. Okay. Okay, so here's kind of my copy. I'm really old school and dorky. I printed it out and made notes on it. So, excuse me. As I was saying, the prologue, if you've ever heard of Shakespeare's sonnets, this prologue is actually in the same form. It's not one of the official sonnets. Like in a collection, there's 100 and something, about 200 total. But he wrote some of these prologues. I think there's one in Midsummer Night's Dream as well, maybe a couple other plays, where they are actually Shakespearean sonnets, which means it's in 4 quatrains, which is 4 lines, like quarter, right? 4 lines. And if you notice, each set of 4 lines is 1 sentence, okay? Because it ends with a period. These are the first 4 lines, ends with a period. Next 4 lines, ends with a period. Next 4 lines, ends with a semicolon because it goes on to the couplet at the end. So there's 3 sets of 4 lines, 3 stanzas, 3 quatrains, and then a couplet, like a couple. So 2 lines that rhyme. So see, attend and mend. Well, these stanzas have an A-B rhyming pattern. Love, well, at Shakespeare's time, love and remove actually rhymed. It was more Scottish sounding, okay? Rage and stage, strife, life, foes, overthrows, clean, scene, mutiny, dignity. Okay, so you see how it has an A-B rhyme scheme. So if you also look each stanza, oh, well, see, that's a note-taking. You got to develop your own note-taking skills there, Diego. That's why I put little stars there. But each stanza is a sentence, and it's also kind of its own idea. So if you kind of translate them separately, one at a time, it'll make more sense that way. Okay? So these are just my notes. Now let me share one other thing. Okay. Okay, so this is what it looks like on your worksheet. Okay, so just kind of mimic what I want you guys to do. So I'll do the first 4 lines for you guys. So 2 households, both alike in dignity. And you can copy what I write or just leave them blank on your worksheet. That's fine, because I know we did the first 4 lines together. Okay, so 2 households, both alike in dignity. So I can type in something like 2 families, both of similar social standing. Okay, because by dignity here, we're not necessarily talking about personal dignity. We're talking about dignity in the community, their prominence in the community. Because if you remember, I believe Mr. Jazyk was telling you how Mercutio is related to the prince himself who runs the city. Okay, and Verona is at this time is a city-state. So it's a city in its own country. Because Italy wasn't like a whole country at this time. There was a lot of city-states during the time that this is set. Okay, so the next line. So the first line, 2 households, both alike in dignity, we could translate as 2 families, both of similar social standing. Okay, in fair Verona. So at Shakespeare's time, the word fair was usually just meant beautiful. And Verona is the place, so we can't change that. Okay, so in beautiful Verona, where we lay our scene. Okay, our scene is the play. So where our play is set. Okay. And one thing with Shakespeare that I didn't really realize as much until I got into college, you guys, is if you're having trouble understanding it, try to think what picture is he trying to make, because he writes in a very visual way. It's extremely visual. So if you can't understand what he's saying, like try to think, is he trying to make a picture? What is the image he's trying to convey here? Okay. So in beautiful Verona, where we lay our scene, where our play is set. From ancient grudge, break to new mutiny. Okay. So from ancient grudge. So a long standing or an old family feud. Right. I don't know if any of you guys have seen these like Japanese horror movies called like The Grudge or something, right? So it's that kind of a thing. A long-standing family feud, break to new mutiny. Okay. So a long-standing family feud erupts in new violence. Or we could even say riots might be better, this one. You can have lots of different, okay? Because mutiny, what do we normally think? We think a ship, okay? We think a mutiny on the Bounty, okay? But here it's rebelling against any authority, okay? So they're not just killing each other in the streets. They're kind of, the fact that they're prominent citizens, they're rebelling against the state by killing each other in the streets. It's like if the Kennedy family started attacking each other. It'd be like, whoa, these people are, huge members of our society. Why are they acting this way? They should be more civil, okay? So by attacking each other, they're also causing stress to the city, causing the city government to look bad. So where civil blood makes civil hands unclean, okay? So where these rich people are killing each other, they are making the city look bad, right? Because remember, the prince is the ruler of the city, the governor of the city is vaguely related to these people on some level to one side. So all these people, these civil blood makes civil hands unclean, with that pun on acting civil, acting in a dignified way, acting civilly, and civil as in the civil government, okay? So there's lots of ways you can put where civil blood makes civil hands unclean, but you can kind of see what it means, and there's lots of different ways you can translate it. So where these people killing each other in the streets they're making the prince look bad and causing chaos for everyone in the city. Okay, that's what we're setting up as the background here in the first quatrain of the sonnet, the first 4 lines. Okay, does that make sense? Do you have any questions about how I translated these first 4 lines? Okay, well, all right, so let me stop sharing this. Okay. So what I want you guys to do, you should have all downloaded or made a copy of the prologue text and the prologue worksheet. So I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms, and I want you to work together to translate into modern English that you can understand, that you would use, the last 10 lines. Okay, so there's 2 more stanzas, the 4 lines, the 4 lines, 4 lines, and then the couplet. So that's 10 lines in total. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys 20 minutes to do that, just about. So at 1:05, we're going to come back and we'll go over it. Okay, so I want to know what translations you guys have come up with at 1:05. Okay, so give me a minute to put you in the breakout rooms and ask any questions you may have.
Julian, did you just get here?
Yeah.
All right, man, you got to be on time. It's 20 minutes. Mr. Kuzman's running the class today. He'll be back shortly to give you directions.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Julian. Are you there? Do you need me to show you what we're doing today? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Give me 1 second and I'll show you what we are doing. Okay. So if you'll go to this week's module, actually, let me show it to you. But I am going to need you to make copies of 2 different documents from this week's module. So let me show you where we are. Okay. Okay. So if we go to here, week 9, scroll down, says to do 3/5/21, period 6. These 2 here that say Romeo and Juliet prologue text and Romeo and Juliet prologue worksheet, those are the things I want you to make copies of. So click on that. Okay, this is just the text of the Romeo and Juliet prologue. That's all it is. It's just for you to take notes on, to play with, whatever, just make a copy, okay? So make 1 copy of that, then go back, and then this worksheet, okay? And you want to make a copy of this as well, okay? Okay, so I want you to make a copy of both of those documents, just the prologue text by itself, and then this worksheet. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'll show you what they're doing. There isn't really time to put you in a breakout room with the others. They'll be back pretty soon. But what we did is, this is the text of the prologue, and we took it line by line, and we're going through, and we're putting in our own translation of what each line means. So for instance, I ran them through the first couple lines: 2 households, both alike in dignity. We said 2 families, both of the same social standing, same prominence in the community. Okay, so we just went through, and they're going through and translating each line into English they could understand. Okay, so if you make copies of both of these documents, then maybe you can just kind of get started on your own translating this into words that you can understand. And then you can join everyone when they come back from the first breakout room. All right. So let me know if you have any more questions. They will be returning from the breakout rooms at 1:05. So make copies of these documents and just have a go at the translation. There's no right or wrong between now and 1:05. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, you guys. So hopefully that was fun. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what you guys think. And as I was telling one group, I know there's some lines in there where you probably don't have to change more than a word or two, but there are at least two lines that are quite difficult, actually. And one of them, it's got me on a research tirade, to tell the truth. So let's go through the rest of the poem, line by line, and I want you guys to give me your best guess as to what the line means. Okay? So we'll start here with the second stanza. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes. Okay, now how much you say that sort of in modern contemporary English? Well, let's see. How about fatal loins? What does that mean? No, it's not lions. It's loins, okay? So from forth the fatal loins of these two foes. Okay, so you could translate that as these feuding families had children. Okay, so from forth the fatal loins, the family line, we could say, we don't have to be too literal about the word loins. Okay, and something I was watching about this, actually, they were talking about in Shakespeare's time, loins and lines would have sounded the same, would have been pronounced the same. So they're punning on family lines, fatal lines, hereditary, and loins as in literally people's, naughty bits. Okay, from forth the fatal loins of these two foes. So these feuding families had children. From their lines, from their loins came something. Okay, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their lives. Okay, I know Mr. Jazik went over the star-crossed part, but how would you put that in modern contemporary English? Okay, well, let's see, a pair, we can go with two again. Star-crossed, I know you guys all went over that fate and destiny stuff, but I just like to use the simple word doomed. It has a nice echoing sound to it. So two doomed lovers, we can keep that word. Okay. Two people who were in love killed themselves. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah. Take their lives. Okay, so kill themselves or commit suicide. Okay. Lots of different ways to do that. How about this is the first hard one. This one, it took me a while to I had to research this. Okay. Whose misadventured, piteous overthrows. I'd like to see what any of you guys managed to do with that. Whose misadventured, piteous overthrows. And as you can see, Word doesn't even like misadventured as a word. Okay. So the key to this line, and put in the chat any interpretations you have while I'm discussing it. Okay. So the key to this line, and it took me a little time to figure out, overthrow is used as a noun here. So it's not a past tense verb. It's a plural noun. And to an English teacher, that's like, wow. Your accidents upsets people. That's interesting. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, you're getting there. Misadventured. Okay. We can just say misguided. It's probably the best word to use. Very similar, past tense has miss in front of it as a prefix. So misguided, piteous means worthy of pity. Pitiable means the same thing. So we can just say sad. So we can put who's misguided and sad. Now overthrows. Okay, if it's a noun, it means that Romeo and Juliet in their relationship are trying to overthrow something. You see? They're misguided and sad overthrows. So let's see. How can we describe their attempt to overthrow their family's dominance over them? So it was misguided and sad. Efforts to pursue their romance against their parents' wishes. But yeah, kind of like what Sienna said, this upsets people. Okay? People are getting upset. Yeah, made bad choices and refused their parents' command someone sent me. So yeah, okay. Misguided, misadventured, piteous. Yeah, their efforts aren't going to work out, but they're trying. Okay? Doth with their death bury their parents' strife. Okay? Doth just means does. Okay? Okay, so we could say, so doth with their death bury their parents' strife. Okay. What can we say there? So let's see. And whose deaths ended their family's feud. Okay, strife, right? Just referring back to that fight. Use a strife to rhyme with life. Okay, you guys. Everyone thinks Shakespeare's a genius, but he sometimes cuts a few corners. Let's be honest. Okay, so right, that's the second stanza. Right. How about this one? This is similar to the pair of star-crossed lovers line. The fearful passage of their death-marked love. How would you say that? The fearful passage. What could that be? Fearful passage. Let's see. The fearful passage. By passage, we mean the progress of their relationship. Okay? So we could say, let's see. Okay, yeah. Yeah, their death-marked love. So again, that doomed sense of star-crossed. Okay, so we're going to use doomed romance. Right, of these lovers. So fearful passage, kind of doomed romance of their death-marked love. We already covered that with star-crossed. So they're saying the course of their relationship. We're going to see in this play how their relationship develops, the fearful passage of it. Okay, how it develops and how it affects other people. That's what they mean by the fearful passage. Okay, and the continuance of their parents' rage. Okay, this one you don't really need to change much. And their parents ongoing anger. Okay, just to use different words. But the continuance of the parents' rage, I think you guys get that. That's pretty much modern English. Okay, but this one is a tricky one. So I want to see what you guys think of this line. Which, but their children's end, not could remove. So I really want to see what you guys have to say about this line. So let's see. I'll just kind of take it apart a little bit. Well, hopefully somebody's putting something in the chat. So their children's end, we mean their death. I assume you guys got that much. But not could remove. Not means nothing. Okay, so nothing could remove. What could be removed? What are we trying to remove here? What is it saying? Nothing could remove. What are we removing? So to take this line apart, we have to realize what we're removing or trying to remove here is their parents' rage, their parents' anger. Okay, so nothing could remove, could get rid of their parents' rage, their parents' feud, their parents' anger at each other, their families fighting, but their children's end. Okay, but being except for. Okay, so nothing except for their children's suicide could bring their feud to an end. Not could remove. Okay, nothing could remove nothing could get rid of their fight except for their children's suicide. Except for something as tragic as their children's suicide, nothing would going to stop their feuding. Okay? So you could say something like nothing less than their children's, that's never like that. Children's suicide. U-C-I-D-E, thank you. Nothing less than their children's suicide could end their feud, okay? See, that one's real tricky. But their children's end not could remove. Nothing except their children's suicide could end their feud, okay? Is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, okay? Is what our play is going to be about. Again, traffic is just to have that kind of visual with passage and continuance of parents' rage, that kind of active feeling. So we get the word traffic. You know, we're going to be going back and forth across the stage, okay? You get that kind of feeling. And finally, the couplet, right? The which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Okay. So this is when they're saying, we're going to put on a play, right? So how might you put these last two lines, this rhyming couplet, in contemporary English? Okay, well, let's see, they say the which, so the which is the play, okay? That's just, so the which, if you with patient ears attend, essentially just means if you'll stick around and listen, okay, what here shall miss, here is the prologue, is all this. This is here, what here shall miss, okay? Our toil shall strive to mend. Okay. So what here shall miss, what we have left out of this prologue, okay, what here shall miss, okay, our toil shall strive to mend, okay. Now mend means fix or repair, right? So our toil means the play. So our acting, our traffic, okay, will strive to mend. We will try to repair, fix, we'll fill you in on what we left out, okay? So what we have left out of this prologue, all our play will fill in. Might be something we'd say today. Okay, so do you see how this gives us some background in the first stanza? Two families, you know, fair Verona where they are seen, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Then it brings us to the present in the second, okay? Then in the last, it starts talking about, and at the very last, it tells us, gets kind of fourth wall breaking here, where you're going to see a play. Okay, so we're telling you about, we're setting up the story, and then we're going to put on play to show you the story and fill in the gaps, all the little bits and pieces you might be wondering about. Okay, so you see how you can go through Shakespeare and translate it. It will make sense eventually, you guys. Okay, so does anyone have any questions on translating? And as I said, it's never going to be easy and natural. You're never going to read Shakespeare without having to kind of like, but it gets tolerable, trust me. And you get to enjoy it, actually. It took me till college, but I did. All right. Okay, so before I put you guys into the breakout rooms, we're going to go over tone and mood, because now that you seem to understand what the prologue is saying, we want to look at the tone and the mood. And those are very hard to differentiate because we tend to use the same words to talk about them, but they are quite different. Okay, so give me 1 second. let's take a look at tone and mood. All right. Okay. And I have published this presentation, you guys, on the module. So the first part of this presentation, for the tone and mood part, has kind of a breakdown of the prologue with some potential translations. You'll notice these translations are very different than the ones I just did because every time I do them, I translate a little differently. Okay? So if you want to go back through them, I have some at the beginning of this presentation, which the PDF is on the module. Okay? So tone and mood. We'll just kind of quickly go through this just so you can get a feel for the difference between the two things. Okay, so how are tone and mood different and how are they the same? So tone is the author's attitude towards the subject. And to fall back on something that I taught to you guys earlier, you can kind of think of tone as external conflict. You use tone towards someone else. Mood is you are affected by somebody else's tone and you feel a certain mood. So it's kind of like internal conflict in that sense, and tone is coming directed at you, so it's kind of external. You use a tone towards someone and it creates a mood. Okay, so tone is the author's attitude towards a subject, and we usually, it's in our voice. You know, we talk about don't use that tone with me. But in writing, you have to express it through word choice. You can't express it with the sound of your voice. And that's why in text messages, emails, you'll sometimes feel, I need to put an emoji here because they might think I feel this when I really feel that. Okay, a good writer, really good writers can do that without using emojis. And I use them all the time. I'm not a great writer, okay? Don't think I'm saying that. Okay, so that's what tone is about, is being misunderstood or trying to be understood to mean a certain thing by the words that you use or the sound of your voice. And when you can't use the sound of your voice, you have to use with your word choice, okay? And mood is what all these choices create, what they want their reader to feel and the atmosphere that they're creating, okay? So as I said, tone, if you really just can't remember the difference between tone and mood, think watch your tone, okay? And you're in a mood. That's kind of a way of thinking of it. So watch your tone when you're speaking to me, like external conflict. It's the writer's attitude, and if it's only in writing and you can't use emojis or happy faces or any of this stuff, it has to be in the words that you choose and the way that you show your point of view. If they're coming from a particular identity position, if they're coming from a particular status position, then their point of view may affect their writing style and be obvious. Their syntax. Syntax just means the order of the words. Like, if you remember, let's see, what was that one? Right? Which but their children's end not could remove. That's rather awkward syntax. That's what it means. It means the words are arranged in kind of a funny way that's kind of hard to understand. So the syntax can create the tone. Okay? And formality. How formal or informal is it? So Shakespeare's tragedies will tend to be more formal, comedies more informal. And people always think Shakespeare's so high-minded, but he used the word stuff a lot. Okay, so, and as I said, he cuts some corners here and there. So Shakespeare isn't perfect, and he really isn't that formal if you really pay attention to what he's actually saying. So that can also affect tone. Okay, so you can see how tone in our voice can turn a statement like "you're a big help," depending on how you say it. You could say, "Oh, thanks, you're a big help," or "Thanks, you're a big help." So I didn't do quite as good, but you can see how the tone of voice in how you say something changes its meaning. Okay, you can turn a genuine compliment into a sarcastic remark. And as I said, consider how carefully you have to think when you write in a text or an email, and you wonder, is my reader going to know I mean it this way, not that way? Right? So it's about communicating in an effective way. And so useful tone words, an accusatory tone, you're accusing somebody of something, bitter tone, critical, you're finding fault with someone, an intimate tone, you're speaking very familiar words, matter of fact, optimistic. Okay, so you want to try to figure out what is the tone this person is using to create a mood. So they use tone to create mood. The author uses tone to create mood in the audience. So you want to try to remember the difference between tone and mood? Think, wow, you're in a mood. Okay, so it's the emotion evoked by a text in the reader. It's what you experience when you are reading something, how it makes you feel. Okay, and a really important thing here, you guys, is considering what the author includes and what they leave out. Do they use a lot of adjectives? Those are dead giveaways for tone because they're describing things, right? They have to choose those adjectives. Are they positive or negative adjectives? Do they like what the noun they're being attached to, you know? So what are they trying to do? Like I said, what images is Shakespeare trying to put in your head? That's setting the mood. Okay, that's all those things. What is the author trying to do with the words that they chose? They didn't just pick them randomly. So useful mood words, a suspenseful mood, a lonely, happy, angry, anxious, okay, excited, depressed. These are all mood words. And one of the reasons, as I said, that we kind of have trouble distinguishing between tone and mood is we tend to use very similar words to talk about them. Because if the tone and mood match, then the author was successful. Okay. So once again, tone, how the author feels and the words that they use. Mood is the atmosphere they create and what they want you to feel. Okay? Okay, just a couple quick examples. We'll just take one sentence from each of these. An example of tone in writing. Okay, because tone, again, as I said, it's usually a quality of your voice. So when you're writing, you have to do it only with words, not emojis. No emojis in essays, guys. Okay, so if we look at this last sentence here, I called my friend at their house. Her brother said she's not home, but I heard her voice come over the line. Okay, now why did they include that last part? But I heard her voice come over the line. They didn't need to. If they had just, I called my friend at their house, her brother said she's not home, they could have stopped the sentence there, purely factual. But they added, I heard her voice come over the line. So their tone is suspicious, okay? Like say your parent comes and said, where did you go? Oh, I saw you sneak out somewhere. It's a suspicious tone, but here it's conveyed in writing because they added something that they could have left out, right? One last example of mood here. Look at the middle sentence here. The man kicked and threw the poor cat out of his house. Okay, so look at all these, words that are added that don't really need to be there. When you could say the man threw the cat out of his house, the man got rid of the cat, right? But the man kicked and threw. We're just hammering or reiterating. He did this and he did that to the poor cat. Oh, the poor cat. Okay, so what's the mood this sentence is trying to make the reader feel? Well, the poor cat. So we think, oh, we feel sympathy for the cat. We feel pity for the cat. Right? Then the man kicked and threw the cat. We might feel some anger towards the man who hurt this poor cat. Okay, so by not just saying he threw the cat, he kicked and threw the poor cat. Okay, so we're creating a mood with our tone. All right, perfect timing. Anybody have any questions on tone and mood? Again, this PDF is available on the module if you need a refresher during the breakout sessions. Okay, so before I send you into the breakout sessions, I just want to show you one more time what I'm asking you to do. So take a look at the worksheet, part 2. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So in part 2, I'm going to give you guys about a half an hour. So I just want you to write a paragraph each about tone and mood. So here it says, tone, find at least 3 words or phrases in the prologue that show the tone that the author of the prologue uses. Okay, how they feel about the subject and how they express these feelings in writing. Okay. Describe the tone of the prologue and explain how these words or phrases express that tone. Okay, so 3 to 5 sentences for that. Then basically the same thing for mood. Find at least 3 words or phrases that help to create the mood that the prologue wants the reader to feel as the play begins. Okay. What is it they want you to feel when the actual stage opens? Because the prologue, somebody would have kind of come out on stage by themselves and just recited the prologue before all the other actors came out. So what is it they want you to be feeling before any of the real actors come out? Describe this mood and explain how these words or phrases help to create that mood. Okay, so a paragraph, 3 to 5 sentences for each of those in your group. All right. Okay. So no one has any more questions. I'm going to put you back in breakout rooms, and I'll bring you back at 2 o'clock, and we're just going to watch 3 different performances of the prologue, and you can kind of see the different moods that they set. Even though they're using the same words, they use kind of a different tone, not a word tone, but they perform it a little differently. So just want to show that to you guys. Okay, so I'm going to put you in your breakout rooms until 2 o'clock, and I want you to work on answering a paragraph each about tone and mood on the worksheet. All right. Okay. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, you should be joining your breakout rooms. So you are all assigned. So let me know if you have any questions. Okay, you guys, hopefully that was enough time for everyone to write the two paragraphs. Does anyone want to share what sort of tone you described for the prologue and what sort of mood it sets? Okay, well, keep thinking about that. We're going to take a look, though, at 3 different performances of the prologue. You don't have to answer anything more. Well, part 3 on the worksheet, if you guys have noticed, is if you want to ask me anything, I'll take a look at these things tomorrow morning and send you guys an email over Canvas, all right? So anything you might want to ask me, just tack on there and I'll respond as long as it's appropriate, of course. All right, so we're going to watch. It takes about 6 minutes, and then we'll leave. We're going to watch 3 different performances of the prologue. The first one's from 1968. The second one is the one that you guys saw already from 96. And the last one is a musical one from 2016. Okay, so I'm just going to share this on my screen. So just watch and enjoy. And let me know if it's glitchy or otherwise you can't hear or see anything. All right, let me start it.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. Whole misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. The which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
All right, you guys, so that was the one from 1968, which is the one that I grew up with. The next one is the one you saw already, but it came out in 96 when I was a junior in high school. So it would not have been something for me to grow up with, but you guys probably did, might have, or you're doing it right now, actually.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage.
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life.
Okay, so in that one, you guys, you can kind of see how images, like words, can be used to set a very different tone. In the first one, it was a lot more focused on the family, while this one, it's a lot more of a focus on what's going on in the city and the civil conflict. So images, like words, can be used to set tone and make you feel a certain mood. Okay, so take this last one. This is a musical version, but since poetry is actually originally meant to be sung, but try to figure out what kind of tone and mood this one is setting that's a little bit different than these first two.
Two households both alike in dignity. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient gods break to new mutiny. Where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal lines of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrow, doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death marks love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's and not could remove, is now the two-armed traffic of our stage. The which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
All right, you guys. I don't know about you, but I think the last one sets kind of a more romantic and almost hopeful mood than the first two, which may or may not be appropriate for Romeo and Juliet, but at least it's different. All right. I think Mr. Jazik wants to remind you about Monday, so I'll turn it back over to him.
Thank you, Mr. Klusman, and we're sad to see you go, but excited for where you go from here. So that was it, guys. And keep in mind, we're going to be starting the actual play soon, so hopefully you learned a lot today about the prologue. On Monday, we might not have a WebEx for the class. Please remember to check the announcements page because there's an assignment if we don't have a WebEx. Just keep that in mind. Okay, that's all it is. So on Monday, check the announcements page. We might not have a WebEx. If we don't have one, there will be an assignment for you to do on your own. All right. What's up, Brian? I said we're reading the play. Wishful thinking. All right, guys, that's it. Have a good weekend. And bye, Mr. Kuzman. It's been good having you here as well. I'll let you say goodbye and end the class.
All right, well, bye, you guys. It's been fun. So I'll let you guys go now. Have a good rest of the day.